I think we touched on this yesterday about the importance of trying to finish this off here, but this team has been well versed at doing that in the last 2 years. I know you were only here last year, but what does it take? What's the key, I guess, to kind of matching their desperation and pulling this up?
Treat it as every other playoff game, one day at a time, one game. We're not looking at it as if we have to win one of three. I know they're not talking about they have to win the next three. They are talking about they have to win tonight. And we are talking about the same thing. We have to win tonight and not worry about anything else. And I think a lot of it has to do with just being able to, keep our game simple and working hard. Our guys did a tremendous job at the commitment, the work ethic that they had last game. We just have to continue doing that.
Kris, that Draisaitl-Eichel matchup seemed to work pretty well for you. You're on the road now, so you don't have last change. You've never been one really to chase matchups, but are you more inclined to try to maybe chase that one?
No, I think when you're chasing guys off, especially on the road, if you have a line out there and they're coming off, you're just setting yourself up for more mistakes, more miscues, line changes. That's a big part of the game that I don't think gets talked about enough, is just what happens when there's a line change. Any neutral zone, transition, scoring chances, usually it's a bad line change. And I think if you got guys coming off and on, it just makes things difficult. And I've got confidence in four lines that can play 1 through 4 lines, and so no, I don't think that's an issue.
When it comes to, I guess, playing here, I guess, what is the key? You've already had success here twice. What is the key to kind of try and taking the crowd out and just playing your game?
I don't know, just playing our game. Playing solid. They are very dangerous off the rush, and you see that in the series. The amount of goals that have been scored off the rush for both teams. So we're just gonna have to make sure that we're not feeding their transition. We've got guys staying above them, and when we're giving up even man rushes, then we should be able to defend those. But if they're odd man, that makes those things a little more difficult, and they got some dangerous players that they can create some chances. So we just have to eliminate that.
Just want to confirm, it's the same lineup that you had?
Well, the same lineup.
How do you get, when your team plays as well as it's played in a long time the other night, really good game all over the ice, how do you resist the urge to coach between games? How do you stay out of it? Do you try not to change anything, or is there still adjustments?
Well, there's adjustments to the fact that we're on the road, so there's going to be little things that are going to be different. I think we're treating it as the same as after a win or a loss. We've had some good games throughout the playoffs. I don't think we responded very well. We've won them after those good games, but I think we've been fortunate the way we played after those strong performances. But I think we're still coaching. There's things that, hopefully we're still playing for another month or so. Fingers crossed, that'd be great. And if you're not touching certain aspects of the game, whether it's our forecheck, our breakouts, defensive zone coverage, if you don't address those things over a long period of time, they start to lapse. They don't look sharp. They're weak. And so there's always reminders for the guys, because it's we know Vegas. We know how they're going to play. We know how we want to play against them. But as a coach, you always want to have reminders on how we have to play, and just so those details are pretty much ingrained in their minds, and just comes as a done as habit.
Kris, how encouraging is it that depth has been able to prevail and come through the way it has? And I guess the second part to that question would be, how important is it to have everyone in that dressing room feeling like they're contributing for your long-term success?
Well, we need everybody, and we saw it last year through the playoffs. How many guys came in and out of the lineups, and this year we haven't had as much transition to our roster. But you saw the other night, we just inserted Kapanen, who hadn't played for several weeks, Stature too, and they were able to help us. And there's it's going to happen again, whether that's after a loss or whether there's an injury or whatever happens, that we need to have little different looks. And I think everyone's done a pretty good job. You look at our depth scoring and guys getting involved however they are, physicality, defensive role, penalty kill. I think we've got a lot of good hockey players, and I think they've all been helping our team win.
Speaking of that depth, one of those players is Trent Frederick. Obviously, he had a difficult position coming into the playoffs off an injury, but he's continued to give that physical play and even dropped the gloves last game. What can you say about how he's impacted the team in these playoffs?
Trent's been really good for us, and anytime you join a new team, there's always a transition period, and he never really had an opportunity to have that transition period because we're in the playoffs and we needed him up and running, and right now, he's been our probably 10th, 11th forward, kind of in a role, and not that. I think it's just because of he's not on special teams, and that's where your majority of your ice time. If you are playing a lot of minutes, that's where the extra ice time comes. But he scored a key goal in the last series, and the physical play has been tremendous. And we talked about having that physical play throughout our lineup. He's been able to help contribute with that.
Leon Draisaitl was on Eichel's hip the whole last game. He said he takes pride in his defensive game. I guess what does that say about him as a player, 100-point guy, not afraid to just say, "Yeah, I'm going to be a defensive guy today."
In my opinion, Leon's should win the Hart Trophy. All right, and maybe he doesn't because of missed the last couple of weeks, but I don't think that's enough for him not to win it. That's just my opinion. And also, probably best defensive forward also in the league. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And, it probably, if he was on the penalty kill regularly, he's probably definitely in that conversation and getting that recognition. Just the fact that we have other guys that are contributing with the penalty kill and kind of having roles for more guys. We have needed Leon to kill penalties this year. But I think if he was killing penalties, that'd be Selke for sure. Without a doubt. So he can do it. He's very good at it. He takes a lot of responsibility in his game. You often think of those guys who are putting up a lot of points that they neglect the defensive responsibilities. Leon has never neglected his defensive responsibilities. In fact, if I was to show clips on how to back check and how to work and getting above the opposition, Leon would be the leading guy on all the clips that I could find. He's the one who does it the best.
It's your second season now coaching with Brett Kulak. Are you seeing the best of Kulak right now, playing quite often more than 22 minutes left, right side?
I think Brett's been very steady for us, and I think just this year, he's played as well as ever. I think this year we're also leaning on him a lot more. Typically being a 5-6 defense, or no, more of a 4-5 defenseman. But this year, with the departure of some right-handed defensemen, that he had to play a lot on the right side also. So I've seen Brett play very good throughout my time here, especially both years in the playoffs. I think just this year we've relied on him more than ever, and he has not dropped his play at all, which sometimes when guys play more minutes, usually more mistakes show up, but he has not. That has not happened.
Kris, can you give us an update on Calvin Pickard? Didn't see him out there this morning.
No, just Calvin's, again, just day-to-day.
Chris, given all the roster volatility down the stretch and even the start of the playoffs, can you pinpoint a reason or two why this team has come together the way it has for the playoffs?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think we've got a lot of good hockey players and a lot of good players that can fill different roles. At the end of the season, we weren't really sure what we were going to get. So many unknown factors. Like Trent Frederick's a good hockey player who can play a significant role. He hadn't played for us going into the playoffs. Obviously, Evander Kane, we know what he can do, especially during the playoffs. We hadn't seen him for a year. And then there's injuries to Hyman, McDavid, Draisaitl. Those are pretty good players that weren't playing at the end of the year, or just in and out of the lineup. So we didn't really know what we had, or I certainly didn't. And now that we've kind of playing together, kind of got some regularity, that guys are starting to get some more, just being a little more comfortable with each other. I'm certainly more comfortable with knowing who I should put out together or on the ice for certain situations.
You mentioned the other day about message to Sperry Kapanen about staying ready? Saw you talking to Jeff Skinner today. Was that kind of the message?
We're going to need a lot of guys. We took out Arvidsson. Arvidsson's going to be coming back in the lineup very soon. Skinner's a good hockey player. I guess it just depends on what we need. I think Skinner's going to be in the lineup at some point, and especially in certain roles. Some guys can move up and play a type, and some can't. I was thinking about what we needed the other night, inserting Kapanen. We wanted a little more speed and physicality, and we felt like he was ready for that role. But if we need a top 6 guy, Jeff Skinner is definitely a guy that would be in the or bottom, whatever roles. He can do it. He's a smart hockey player, and whatever we ask for him, he'll be ready. So, we've got a lot of guys who aren't playing, who are capable, and we'll be using them at some point, I'd imagine.